This is a story about ticks and Lyme disease. It's also a story about mice and birds, and how climate may be changing the ecology of diseases. According to our state's Department of Health and Human Services, Lyme's is the most commonly reported vector-borne human disease in Michigan. In fact, 55 cases have been reported already this spring, 6 in northern Michigan. But Lyme's may be more prevalent in our pets. Here's Traverse City veterinarian Dr. Leslie Littlefield.
Yes, dogs do get Lyme disease. They're, again, a sentinel for Lyme disease because it's caught we see it in dogs before people. Dogs get more ticks on them. They're down in the grasses. So it's definitely a very common problem in dogs. I never in my lifetime pulled a tick off myself until I was 35 in the area and spent my life outdoors. And we keep track of ticks here and we're pulling them off more frequently, and the time of the year that we see ticks is becoming longer too. They don't like our cold winters we used to have, and other than the last 2 years, honestly, we haven't had a cold winter like that in 15, 20 years. We were lucky enough to be pretty tick-free, or if not tick-free, other than the wood tick or the American dog tick, and now we have more ticks varieties and more ticks in general.
If our region had fewer ticks and no Lyme disease just a decade ago, what happened? One answer appears to be the movement of animals. Here's Dr. Philip Myers, a zoologist and ecologist who studies small mammals in northern Michigan.
Lyme disease is associated primarily with white-footed mice. It can be carried by deer mice, but it's spread to humans for whatever reason. Seems to map more on the distribution of white-footed mice. Deer mice are a northern species. They reach the southern limit of their range at about, historical range at about Clare. White-footed mice probably weren't in northern Michigan at all until the early 1900s. So I wanted to find a place where I could look at both species and ask, is the southern species replacing the northern, as seemed to be true elsewhere in the northern Lower Peninsula? I now have 27 years of data. It turns out that the only thing that we could discover that affects the number of mice is the weather, and what really seems to matter is how early winter conditions end. If winter is short, if it ends early, the southern species, the white-footed mice, have a huge advantage. Their numbers just take off. In the Upper Peninsula, the commonest species of mammals in many sites are white-footed mice. They weren't even there 30 years ago. So it's a completely new addition to that fauna. Southern flying squirrels are also completely new.
Myers points out that the explosive growth in the white-footed mouse populations and their movement north reflects a similar movement by many rodent species.
We focused on 8 species in particular, and pulled out all the historical records and compared them to what we're seeing now. The result is that of those 8 species, every one of them showed evidence of northward movement. And in some cases, the movement was as much as 200 kilometers, so very substantial. It's more than a coincidence that they're all moving northward.
New bird and tick species appear to be frequenting northern Michigan too. Just last summer, Traverse City-based avian parasitologist Dr. William Scharf reported the first occurrence of a southern species of tick in our region.
I discovered a tick called Ixodes bruneus, which has been found in the southern states for a long time. And just last year, I found one of them on a bird here in northern Michigan at Chippewa Run near Empire, Michigan. Chippewa Run is a Leelanau Conservancy preserve. And in discussing this with other people, I found out that this had also been found down near Kalamazoo as well. So there are 2 of these ticks that have been found now in Michigan and never before. So again, it's a southern tick. It's been found in Louisiana, Georgia, places like that, and now we have it in Michigan. The evidence that I have, and I've been doing this for since 1968, and from 1968 until now, it was uncommon to see ticks on birds, and now it's extremely common, and I've seen as many as 100 ticks in one bird's ear, and that's the place where they tend to congregate, is in the ears of the bird.
Scharf explains birds don't get Lyme disease, but they can spread ticks to places where mice and other mammals live and travel.
Well, we think that the climate is just changing enough so that it's becoming favorable for the ticks. And not only that, but the ticks are able to hitch a ride on the birds and stay on the birds longer. The fact is that the birds act as carriers for the ticks and spread them around as they come from South and Central America. These ticks are then going to fall off the birds and then parasitize small mammals and occasionally larger mammals like deer.
Oh, it's definitely expanding. We traditionally in northern Michigan didn't concern ourselves as veterinarians for tick diseases, and it is in our area. It's not going to get better. There's no way. It's only going to get worse. So we're going to have to learn to live with this.